Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. And with us today is Madara Winters. She is a public health nurse case manager in the domestic violence prevention, or she's a domestic violence prevention case manager at Native Health. And welcome, Madara.
Hi.
I always love having you on. We were just sitting here chatting about getting older. All right. Anyway, let's talk today about May 5th was Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day. So first of all, what is that?
Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day is a movement that started initially in Canada to just address the higher statistics of violence that our community faces. Over the years, a lot of our cases have gone cold and leaving families without any answers or support. So there was a movement that started to address this and to bring awareness that we matter too as Indigenous people, and that we do have high rates of violence in our community. But it initially started with MMIW, Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. But the movement changed because we're recognizing that our men and our LGBTQ two-spirit community face high rates of violence as well. So sometimes you will hear Missing and Murdered Indigenous People, or you'll hear relatives as well.
So, and I know then the National Day of Recognition was designated by then President Joe Biden in 2021, correct?
Yeah, and that's just because of all the movement that has been made, not just in Canada, but here in America as well.
I know lately there's been a lot of discussion. I know that Emily Pike was a teen girl that disappeared and was tragically found murdered not too long ago, and just the media has now picked up more, and I think more recognition in mainstream media. Do you agree with that, or?
So yeah, here in our community, because it hit so close to home, the community had lots of questions, lots of feelings here in Phoenix area, because she did come up missing from Mesa. There's been lots of boots on the ground movement. There's been lots of people outside of our community that's been wondering what is going on with our missing people. So it has, and there's been lots of communication with different police departments, with the FBI, with different tribal organizations, trying to figure out how they can address the situation, as well as Mesa Public Schools and just kind of the whole entire community. So it's been quite a busy 2 months for me.
I'm sure, and I know hard, really hard. And I know May, MMIP month and things like that. But I think the good that has come out of it is that people are now talking more about this and why this is important, and why the MMIP movement has gone unnoticed and maybe unreported, but just so important to bring awareness to what's going on. But I know in terms of the media, what does the red handprint and the red dress mean for our listeners that are not familiar with what that is?
Yeah, so sometimes in social media and images, you'll see Indigenous people with a red handprint over their mouth, and that's in recognition of the silence that has happened to our community because of the unaddressed answers that we were just talking about. People will file a missing persons report, and it just kind of gets shuffled away without any answers, and it makes us feel like our voices aren't being heard. And so this is in recognition of that, and also the silencing of the people that did pass away, that their voice isn't being heard. So that's what that's about.
And the red dresses?
And the red, even though all tribal nations are not a monolith, we do have some similarities. In a lot of tribes, the color red is representative of, it's a color that the dead can see. So when you see the red dresses, this is showing that the people that have passed, that we're still looking for them, that we're still seeking justice for them. So you'll also see it as Red Dress Day, and that's representative that we are telling those people that have passed that we're still finding answers for them.
And it's a super important topic. Okay, so I do want to talk about what should you do if somebody's missing. If somebody went out last night and didn't come home this morning, do you wait? Do you give it a day? Do you give it a week? Do you give it a month? Or do you need to do something quick?
Yeah, there's a misconception that you have to wait 24 hours to file a missing persons report, which is not true at all. If somebody has gone missing, they didn't come home when they said they were going to come home or whatever, you can make a police report immediately. That's one of the things that I would like people to understand, is that to get that report in as soon as possible. I also would like our families to start a journal. So you're going to get a notebook and you're going to start writing down everything that you remember, what the person was wearing, when was the last time you heard from them, what was said. Also, you want to write down when you filed reports, who did you file those reports with, what was the badge and the officer's name that came and took the report. I also would like Indigenous people to also make sure that their tribal nations know that this person is missing as well, and that you filed a report with where the person came up missing. It's important to know that you filed a report with where the person went missing, not where the person is from, because us as Indigenous people, we travel all the time back and forth from our community to the city and all around. So make sure that the report, if they're living in Albuquerque, file the report with Albuquerque Police Department, but also make sure to let your tribal nation know. We also want people to know, if you are Indigenous, file with the FBI and the BIA as well. They have a place online. If you look up BIA missing persons reports, there's a link there that you can file a report with as well. Also utilize your social media platforms. It's free and it gets the message out there. There is tons of boots on the ground people. There is tons of advocates out there who work together to get notices out. So make a poster, get it out on social media, and those people will grab it and they'll run with it and start posting it to their other people as well. And this is a free way that you can get your posters out to a larger audience that this person is missing.
So I want to back up, but let's hope that no one goes missing, but you should always tell a friend or relative or somebody who you're going out with and where you're going, right? Before you go out at night. So if I'm going to the bar tonight, I should tell somebody and not just go.
Yeah, I was going to cover that as well. It's important that we are teaching our youth, our people that are just starting to date. Maybe they're going out with friends. Maybe they're at that age where they're starting to go out with friends. To take lots of pictures. Ask for selfies. If you're out with your friends, send me a selfie with your friends. Just so you have that picture of the people that they're with and them, and also take pictures of your kids, your loved ones. If you have people that have maybe substance use issues and they're coming to the city a lot, make sure you're getting lots of pictures of them as well. And then we're also wanting to teach our community to let people know and let them know where you're going, who you're going to be with, where you're going, the time frames. If you're going to go out to dinner, say you're going to go out to dinner, because we know that you're not going to be out to dinner for 5 hours, those kinds of things. If you're going to go out with your friends, 5 hours seems like adjustable, but it's really important to know what you're going to be doing so that we know when you should be home. And if we're not hearing from you, we can go ahead and make that missing persons report.
So I should say I'm going out to dinner. I expect to be home at 10. If I'm not home, and this is where I went. And
yeah.
Okay. And then what about...
even if this is a new date. If this is a new date, let people know I'm going out with a new person. This is them. Take a selfie.
And tell them their name. Let your
yeah,
friends know their
name
name.
all the information and say, I'm leaving at 8. I'm going to be at, at this restaurant, and... I'll call you when I'm done. And if you don't call, then call them. See if they answer their phone. If something seems off and they're not answering and you've reached out to them, go ahead and make a report. The worst thing that's going to happen is that they're going to be found safe. And that's actually the best thing that could happen.
Is there still a lot of the drinks and the drug, or the drugs and the drinks? Is that still going on?
I think that is happening actually more often now than it had in the past. There's more drugs out there now that they can put in your drinks. So there are some safety things that you can put. There's drink covers to cover your drink. Always make sure that if you get a drink, get it directly from the bartender and hold on to that drink. Don't trust your friends with it. Don't trust the people that you're with. Take it with you. Even if it's to the restroom, I take my drinks with me to the bathroom. I know it's weird, but it's best to know that my drink is safe with me versus other people. Also, there are little cards that you can get, and I have them here at Native Health. You can put a sample of your drink on the card and it'll let you know if there's a drug in it. So there's lots of different safety things that you can do if you're going to go out, if you do expect to drink.
That's cool. I was at a place last week, and I've never seen this before. They had drinks in bags, with the Ziploc bag at the top.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd never seen that. They were margaritas in bags. And I thought, I don't know what the reason for it. Maybe it was so it didn't spill on the ground, or people could carry it a little bit easier, didn't break, wasn't glass. But I also thought that was pretty cool. You could take that in the bathroom and it was like totally sealed.
We should also talk about knowing your limit. Don't get overly drunk, especially if you're with new people. Make sure that you always have your wits about you to get home safely, to get that Uber ride or Lyft or a coordinator ride. Call a friend up and say, hey, can you come pick me up? Also understand that it's not normal for you to get really, really sleepy after a couple of sips within your first drink, depending on what you're drinking. But if you're starting to see that you're getting really, really sleepy, or you're getting off with just one drink, something's not right. So you want to reach out for help.
Good tips. Let's hope that's not happening, but I know it is. I heard in the news last week, or maybe a couple weeks ago, there was now turquoise alerts, right?
Oh, yes.
What is that?
So one of the really good things that happened since Emily passed away that we can talk about is our tribal nations really got together and we had discussions. And Gila River's Governor Stephen Rowe Lewis really pushed the turquoise alert, and it passed unanimously. So I just wanted to say that is now out there, and that's going to be an alert system for Indigenous people. If they come up missing, then we can get that information out with the police departments. They can send out an alert for the community.
So it's just Indigenous.
Yes, it's for tribally enrolled people. If you're from a federally recognized tribe and you come up missing, they can now, once you notify the police, they're going to send out an alert.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of like the silver alert and whatever the colors.
Yes.
Silver and I don't know, whatever they were. Okay. All right. So again, bottom line, if people have questions, they can always contact you, right, Madara?
Definitely. And here at Native Health, we have a lot of resources to help you. If you're experiencing domestic violence or sexual assault, which are two of the leading causes of missing and murdered people, we have resources here to help you. Sometimes it's really hard to navigate the system, but we have Phoenix at Works to help you get a job. We have DES here. We have Community Legal that will answer your questions. We also have the Medical, Dental, and Behavioral Health Clinic, as well as me as a case manager, to help you navigate everything and come up with a safety plan to get you out.
And Indigenous peoples unfortunately come up much higher missing than others, correct?
Yes, at 10 times the national average.
And often overlooked by different municipalities and law enforcement. And so it's super important. If somebody's missing, make sure you contact your law enforcement immediately. May 5th was Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Day. And hopefully more attention will be given to this.
Yeah, and it's always important to get a hold of your advocate, so your advocates can help push as well to make sure that your loved one's name doesn't just get lost.
And thanks. I'm so glad they did the turquoise alert. So
yeah,
little tiny baby step in the right direction.
Yeah, thanks to Gila River.
Yeah. So thanks, Madara, for coming on. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Coming up next on Native Talk Arizona, we'll talk with Monte Stevens, Native Health Case Manager. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. And with us today is Monte Stevens, the General Mental Health Case Manager at Native Health Central. Welcome, Monte.
Hello. Good morning. How are you doing, Susan?
Good. Super excited you're with us. I've heard such great things about you. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I'm really excited to learn more. So to start, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, how you ended up at Native Health, and all of that.
Definitely. So I have been with Native Health for, it is May now, it started in August. So
Almost
what is
a year?
that? Almost a year. So has been pretty good go at it so far as General Mental Health Case Manager. So what I do is my role, connecting all of the clients who are in General Mental Health, Behavioral Health Department with resources in the community, whatever it is that they may need to address what's called social determinants of health. That is our food, housing, clothing, general resources, childcare, food. I already said that. Literally anything that a client may need outside of individualized therapy is essentially what case managers help link them to.
So do they come in first? Do they do an intake and then they become a client and then you help them, right?
Yeah,
sort of
definitely.
after they're like a patient.
Definitely, of
Okay.
course. But also, since we're here at the central location, we have a very high influx of people just coming in daily. Some people may just need, where do I even go? What do I even need? I'm very knowledgeable in resources that are in the community, things that maybe are not mental health related at all, but it's just like, hey, like you could follow up here. So don't necessarily have to be a client to get those case management services or that referral to a resource.
Have you been seeing a lot of the trafficking victims?
Not so much right now.
I know Sonetta does and other staff do.
Definitely.
They do see them.
Prior to my job at Native Health, I did work in substance use disorder, and then is when I would primarily see a lot of people who experience some sort of trafficking from the reservations to here. And that was a very intense environment to work in.
It's horrible. I mean, it's still continuing and we're still seeing people.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to bounce back to a second and let's talk about what Native Health's mental health services are. Can you tell us what programs do we have? Do we have psych, telepsych? I don't know. What else do we have?
Definitely. So our behavioral health department overall, we offer general mental health services. So that is generalized anxiety as well as depression. We offer psych services. So we do have a psychiatrist here who is able to work with clients to get them evaluated, as well as give prescriptions for any psychotropic interventions. So like psych medications. We also provide substance use disorder counseling, both on an IOP level, standard outpatient level, maintenance level, and then as well as individualized substance use disorder therapy.
Wow. And I know we have domestic violence, I think. Did you say
Domestic
that?
violence as well, definitely, of course. And just making sure that we're getting the people what it is that they need. So making sure we're also getting that feedback of what other things do behavioral health departments want to give to the community.
I know we have talking circles too. I think the elder talking circles, and then we also have community ones. But I want to back up. So I know that you mentioned to me that you went to NYU.
Yes, I did my undergrad at NYU.
And so in social work?
Undergrad in social work, BSW, yay.
That's awesome. Are you thinking to go back and get your master's?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's definitely pertinent to have a lot of indigenous folk who grew up on the reservation as well as grew up and living in a urban environment to be a part of the conversation when it comes to treatment. So definitely that is a part of my professional plan going forward.
So where'd you grow up?
So grew up in Fort Defiance, Arizona. If you happen to know, it is 7 miles away from Window Rock, so the main capital of the Navajo Nation.
And did you love it?
Oh, loved it. Love where I was, where I grew up with my grandparents, so they taught me a lot of like the traditional ways of growing up, and then also hearing their stories. My grandpa was an AIM member back in the day, so being very politically involved is how I got into working with indigenous communities.
Very awesome. I guess I'm sorry, and I should have asked you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, no problem. Yat Eshineshik Arnold Squashe Monte Wayland Stevens Yenisha Shashtana and Nishla Mahavi Bashashin Ashi Hindashache Auto Mahavi Dashanala Sahotsoid Nasha. So I am born for Bear Clan. I'm 4 different tribes. I'm Dene Hopi Chemehuevi Mojave. I primarily grew up on the Navajo Nation, so did a lot of that growing up.
So you left there, and then you went to so then you went to NYU. You went to New York, I assume, since it was NYU, and I assume it was not just online. Did you love that?
Oh, I love that. I loved the program, the people I was surrounding with. I first went in 2016. It took me like 6 years to do my undergrad. So take your time doing your education, folks, because I could not imagine being a 21-year-old social worker. Oh my gosh. But when I first went, it was 2016. Our president just got elected. No DAPL was at its height. A lot of Palestinian movement was happening. A lot of workers' rights were moving. I was there at a very, very politically turbulent time that completely influenced the way I now work with clients, because there's just a melting pot of so many different struggles, socioeconomic statuses, individuals going through different points in their lives that I will never be able to replicate, and I can never thank the people that I met without. I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't experience that.
Okay, and then I also know that you worked at Sephora, totally off topic.
Completely off topic.
And tell me about how Sephora was, because I think that's super also interesting.
Absolutely. A completely necessary part of mental health is also knowing when we need something to take our mind off of things. We need that self-care, that personal care. Absolutely love Sephora. Makeup, skincare, hair care, luxury, fragrance. Absolutely adored it. Being able to work with an individual on a service level, just like, what is it we're looking for? Like, what is it we need? What's something we didn't even know we needed until we came in today? So,
oh my gosh, you must have been like the best sales associate.
Quite frankly, I was highest here every single month.
I can tell. I don't know what a interesting, going from NYU to social work, and like you were talking about, like politically charged and getting involved in learning all those things, and then also seeing the other side, kind of like the Sephora side, and kind of meshing that together with the clients that you serve. And I know that's why people love you, is that they can see that you're so well-rounded and can see both sides of people and have experienced so many things.
Yeah, I definitely try. I think it's very important because I feel like when it comes to mental health, behavioral health, it could be very surface level. It can be very numbers oriented. And it's just like, no, like there's a person in an environment. We need to make sure we are seeing the whole person. And that's not just what they may be coming in for. It's just like, hey, like, what else are you doing? Like, what are you wearing? Like, how is the hair care going? Just making sure that we're seeing them as a human first,
right,
as opposed to a client first.
That's a good thing. Yeah, another person, and not just struggling.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you are involved with the new IHS grant, and it's called what?
Yes, and the new IHS grant is going to be called the Integrated Health and Outreach Program for HIV and SUD Prevention for Underserved Communities in Maricopa County, Arizona.
Okay, that's a mouthful. And what does that mean in shorter terms?
Yeah, so overall what it means is that we receive some funding absolutely needed to be able to work with individuals throughout Maricopa County who are from an underserved population. That inherently includes Native American and Indigenous people, as well as people outside of that demographic, to get them specifically HIV testing, as well as SUD treatment.
What's SUD?
SUD stands for substance use disorder.
Okay.
So anybody who's looking for treatment, who is looking to get a little bit more information, as well as making sure we are bridging that gap between substance use as well as STI testing or sexually transmitted infection testing.
Okay, so, but what if you're not using substance use disorders? Like if you're not using substances could you still be qualified for this grant
Most
to like get HIV testing and STI testing, or do you have to be using?
You do not have to be using. This is definitely for anybody who is an underserved population. So what that means is that people who are American Indian, Indigenous, people who are Black, Latino, people with disabilities, people who are currently not of the populations actively being seen or are traditionally underseen in clinics.
Okay. So it sounds like an interesting grant. And so if people have questions or they wanted to get testing, can they come into Native Health? Do they just watch our social media? Like, how can they find out about these services?
Yeah, they can do both. So definitely watch for social media. We're going to be collaborating with some local organizations as well as creating our own events to make sure that we're getting HIV and STI testing out there. As well as you can come into any of the locations, Central, West, or Mesa, to be able to get those testings. Because we just want to make sure that people are overall getting that knowledge as well as making sure that they are taking an active step in their healthcare.
So HIV testing is pretty simple. It's like a rapid finger stick, right?
Yeah,
It's
right
like
now.
a minute or 3 minutes or something?
1 minute for the super rapid, and then I think just the rapid is like 3 minutes. Absolutely quick. Do it on a lunch break.
Awesome. So pretty easy and pretty important to know, right? Everybody should be tested, I assume, at least once?
Everybody should be tested who is sexually active at least once in their life, just to make sure that they are. It's always recommended if you are sexually active to every 3 months, just to make sure that, like I was saying, you're an active participant in your health.
And if it is positive, I know there's PEP and PrEP. I'm not sure which goes with which, but then you can start to get on treatment, right? If something does show up. So not to be scared.
Yeah, definitely. So if you also want to take another step in your health, you can get what's known as pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is PrEP. So pre-exposure prophylaxis is the way it works with individuals who are HIV negative to make sure that they remain HIV negative. So it is a once daily oral pill. They also have a shot that you can utilize. You would just talk to your providers that are at Native Health, and you would take it once daily, and it's able to maintain a negative status. And then PEP, which you were talking about, is post-exposure prophylaxis. That is more effective within 1 week of an individual who may have been exposed to HIV. And then you get on a regimen for about, I believe it's 30 days to make sure that you are less susceptible to becoming HIV positive.
And Native Health we have PEP and PrEP, right?
We do have PEP and PrEP, so
okay.
Yay.
At all of our locations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Central, Mesa, and then NHW over at 22nd Avenue in Dunlap. Okay, so I've got a question. I know you've also been involved with the Southwest Rainbow Gathering. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Southwest Rainbow Gathering, this is the first time I've personally been a part of it. But overall, it is a meeting that is held every single year here in the Southwest region in collaboration with the Phoenix Indian Center. And they work with the local Two-Spirit community just to have panels around health, culture, as well as making sure that the Indigenous perspective in the LGBT plus Two-Spirit community is seen.
So, Monte, I'm going to jump back to that grant for a second. So, is this from anybody can get tested, 18 and over?
Yeah, anybody can get tested overall. If you're on access, not on access, we just want to make sure
right?
It doesn't matter.
Because there's no cost.
Yeah, since it is grant funded, we just want to make sure that we are getting the individuals who come in here, as well as you will be given pretty much like a demographic sheet, and we'll be asking you some demographic information. That's the main thing that we are asking and inquiring for, but just making sure that it is getting out to the people.
And getting tested.
Mm-hmm.
And if they come up with anything, getting you started on treatment.
Exactly.
Right? Because I know syphilis is also, I don't know about right now, but last year, cases were rising within the community.
Bacterial communicable diseases are always on the rise, especially now. We're starting to get into the summer months. People are going out more. I feel it. It happens.
Okay. All right, Monte. So tell me, Maricopa County have a super high incidence of STIs?
Definitely. So if we're looking at historical research in comparison to the state, 70% of reported STI cases originate from Maricopa County, with an overall incident rate of 114.5 cases per 100,000 people. So Hispanic, Latino, white, Black, and American Indian carry the highest caseloads. It's notable that race and ethnicity data may not have been captured for 31% of all reports.
Wow,
so
that's crazy. That's a lot.
Definitely. So when we're asking that, we're making sure we're getting those demographics. We want to make sure that we're getting those demographics.
And people need to get tested.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We're pretty much out of time, but I wanted to find out, how can our listeners find more information and how can they contact you?
Definitely. So best way to come is you can come to any of our locations. So Native Health Central, Native Health Mesa, or of course the West location right at 8800. If you're looking to get in contact with us, you can do our main contact line at Native Health, which is
602-279-5262.
period, and call that number. That is the best way.
And if people wanted to talk to you, they could ask for your extension?
Yeah, you can ask for Monte Stevens. I'm the only Monte who works here. My extension is 12020. You're more than welcome to talk to me, and I'll be able to give you some more information.
Awesome. Monte, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course.
It's been
definitely.
a pleasure. Very interesting.
Up next, Susan Levy chats with Matthew Wood about the Law Library Resource Center. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health's patient enrollment specialist can help you enroll, renew, or update your access information. This can be done in person, on the phone, or via Zoom, days, nights, or weekends. It's fast, easy, and can make a difference in keeping your health care coverage. For more information, call 602-285-9492.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. Now, the Law Library Resource Center provides the tools and resources to navigate the court system, including court forms, live educational workshops, recorded video tutorials, self-help tools, and really, really helpful staff. On the phone with us today is Matthew Wood, and he is an instructional technology coordinator. Matt, welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
All right, it's great to be here.
So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started at the Law Library Resource Center.
Sure. So like you said, I'm the instructional technology coordinator. So I create and facilitate things like workshops and some outreach events, a lot of the handouts that go into the law library. But before that, I was actually an educator for at-risk populations for a number of years. I taught middle school and high school. I did some adult probation education, teaching GED and job skills. So I've always been kind of passionate in helping folks, to help themselves and to educate themselves. And I started at the LLRC, what we also call the Law Library Resource Center, back in 2018, with a chance to kind of use those skills to help improve the public's access to the court system and to justice in general.
I think that sounds like an awesome job and a great place. But before we get started, tell me, what is Maricopa County Superior Court? What's the difference? What do you all handle in Maricopa County Superior Court or the Law Library Resource Center?
Sure. I guess we can start with kind of an overview. So the Maricopa County Superior Court is part of the judicial branch of Arizona and Maricopa County. That also includes adult probation and juvenile probation departments. It's the fourth largest trial court in the country, and I believe we have more than 150 judges and commissioners and somewhere around 3,000 employees right now. The way that kind of fits into the court system in the state is that there's three levels to the court system. The lowest level is municipal or city courts and justice courts. They handle things like traffic violations and some like misdemeanors. Above that is the Superior Court. So that's Maricopa County Superior Court. And we handle things like divorce, criminal issues, civil issues, family issues, juvenile issues, homeless court, tax department. We've also got the probate and mental health departments as well. And then above the superior courts, there's the appeals courts, which includes the Supreme Court for the state.
So then basically all law cases come through, well, not all, but most of the cases come through Maricopa County Superior Court, right?
Most trial cases in the county would come through the Maricopa Superior Court.
Okay. And the only time they would go to a different court system would be if it was something like a U.S., like if you were robbing a post office or stealing mail, something like that, correct? And then that would be U.S.?
Right. That would be federal, or if it's a city or municipal issue. So if it's like a violation of speeding in the city of Phoenix, you would handle like a speeding ticket at the municipal court in Phoenix.
Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. So what does the Law Library Resource Center do?
So we do a lot of things. And first off, it's probably best to describe it as it's not just a library. The name can seem a little bit misleading, but it's really a self-help center, like a one-stop shop for things like court forms assistance, help with court navigation, legal research. So for example, if somebody wants to change their name, but they don't know how to start the process or even, where to go, they could come to the law library and we would get them the right forms to get appointed in the right direction. It's important to note too, I think at this point, that the law library itself, we are not lawyers, so we can't give out legal advice. We can only give out legal information. So one way to think of that is that we can't tell people what they should do, but only what they can do, what their options are for the court.
So if I wanted to come in and let's say I want to change my name, you would be able to kind of walk me through the process, give me the forms, tell me how to fill them out and how to file them, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. We would get you the forms to get you pointed in the right direction. We even offer some services like court forms assistance for folks who have completed their forms, just to check them over, make sure there's nothing missing, or answer some basic questions about the court forms themselves.
Is it pretty easy to submit, or is it pretty difficult?
I feel like it's pretty easy, although I'm familiar with the process. The court forms themselves come in packets, so there's very detailed instructions on the steps that are needed, and the law library is really there to help folks with those steps. So if someone gets stuck, they can always come in and visit us. They can call us on the phone. they can even send us an email or chat with us online to try and, open that up and get moving with it.
Okay, and they can also come in person?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody were to come in and then let's say they didn't have access to a computer or anything, then they could come in, you would help them fill out, or not help them, you would show them how to fill out the forms. And then would you be able to tell them how to submit it or submit it on their behalf if they don't have access to that?
We can't submit the court forms for them, but we can get them pointed in the right direction. We also have the clerk of Superior Court located within the same building. So we can direct people down if they need to file forms or if they need to pay fees, that kind of thing.
Okay, so then they could just go down to the clerk and drop off or whatever the process is to submit their forms, right?
Right.
I'm sort of understanding it. Okay, I just want to make sure. Do you do like wills and trusts also?
We don't have forms for those. We can point people in the right direction for things like wills and trusts.
Okay.
But we would have specific forms for those.
That's perfect. Now, can you kind of give me a quick list or rundown of what you do have? So if you've got, like, I think you said name changes or divorce, what documents or what forms or categories do you have?
So there's a lot. We have hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of forms. So we cover things that deal with civil court. So, people that need to work out issues between each other or between businesses. Family court, so for things like divorce. We have juvenile court, criminal court issues. We have probate, mental health court issues. So that kind of, I think, covers generally pretty much everything that we would be able to assess folks with.
Okay, so once they they visit you, let's say they visit you, email, call you, whatever, get the forms, and then they give them to the clerk or they mail them in or email, whatever the process is. Then after that, what happens? Then does
So that would be...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Does the
That's completely dependent on what the process is that they're working through. Yeah.
Okay. And so each process is different depending on if you're filing for a divorce or if you're changing your name, correct? The timeline and the process.
Right.
Okay. And at any point, so if you do this, is the idea that you kind of can save money and bypass getting an attorney? Or in some cases, do you still need to get an attorney and it's just save time and money to file initially?
So it's hard to make that decision when someone needs to have an attorney for certain situations. What the law library really provides is the option for folks to be able to do as much as they can. So yeah, there may be some circumstances where folks would, we might recommend that, you talk to an attorney for something that's very complicated. But for situations where it's, much simpler, where it's, maybe a few forms they need to fill out, then they can certainly do that on their own. It's really up to the individual, but we're there to try and help them as much as we can by giving them the information they need to do as much as they can on their own.
So who can use this? Do you have to be a resident in Maricopa County, or if I live in Pinal or Pima or Coconino, can I use the Maricopa County, or do I have to go to my own county's court system?
So the law library in Maricopa County is open to anyone. One thing that's probably important to note is that the forms that we have for the Maricopa County Superior Court are only for Maricopa County. So while the laws are similar, the forms may not be identical in each county. So if someone wants to apply for divorce in Pima or Pinal, it's probably best to use those forms.
Okay, good answer. Do you have a particular case that you can mention or a particular instance that you kind of made this all worthwhile to you? Why? I know you're passionate about what you do, but have you ever had anything that you just come home at night and go, wow, this is why I love my job and I love what I do? Or does that happen all the time?
Yeah, there's a few that I can think of. Probably it's usually when we're out doing outreach. So we have a program called LINK, which is the Legal Information and Navigation Clinic, where we take the services of the law library out into the public. And the general idea for this is that while we have 4 locations in the Valley, a lot of folks still find it difficult to make that trip down to speak with us in person, or they may not have access to the internet or to a phone that's reliable. So we try to go to different public libraries or other locations where folks can come to us, and it makes it a little bit easier of a trip. And when we've been out there, there have been a lot of folks who come in and just say, I had no idea that the law library was even a place, what it offered, what it could do, or that, they even had outreach services like we do. So one of my favorite things is when we have folks that come to these outreach clinics and, say to us, this has been amazing. I had absolutely no idea that this was there. This is so helpful. Now I have an idea of how to proceed with my name change or how to work through the divorce process. It's that kind of that educator's feeling of joy of people learning something, understanding something, and being able to move forward with it on their own.
I think it's pretty awesome. So I want to I want to step back a little bit and ask you. So you said that anybody can use it, but obviously the forms are different for each county. Do you need documents? So if I walk in, do you need to see a driver's license or a passport, or do you just not even ask that and just help me?
Nope, we just help folks.
Okay. And then do you have workshops? So if people feel like I don't know, maybe that's a better method for them or something they prefer, do you have workshops around the valley? And if so, or are they virtual, or do you not even have them?
So we do have workshops. Right now, they're currently online only, and they cover things like divorce and legal separation, establishing paternity, legal decision-making, modifying child support, sealing of criminal records. We cover protective orders, and soon we're going to have workshops that cover name changes. The divorce workshops and soon the modifying child support workshops are also offered in Spanish as well as English, and we're hoping to expand that into more Spanish workshops in the future.
You guys do such an awesome job. I'm impressed. So do you have brick and mortars around town or just one?
Sure. So we have our main location downtown. That's at 101 West Jefferson. That's located in the East Court building. And then we have our East Valley location, which is in Mesa at 222 East Javelina Ave. We have a Northeast Phoenix location at 18380 North 40th Street. And then we also have another location out in Surprise at 14264 West Tierra Buena Lane.
Wow, you guys have a lot of buildings. Are you going to eventually, do workshops in person at some of these, or are there opportunities? You said you do outreach events, right?
Right.
Okay, and where's that? Is that on your website, or how do you find out about those?
Sure. So if folks go to our website, they can look for the events calendar, and that will list our workshops, our outreach events, and other events that we have going on with the law library.
What a great resource. I would love to get you all at Native Health and get you to present and do things like that. And so I know I'm pretty much out of time, but I do want to ask, how can our listeners find more information about the Law Library Resource Center, and how can they contact you or whoever would be the contact person?
Sure. Well, generally, there's a couple ways to get in touch with us. First, you can visit any of the locations in person Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have a phone number, which is 602-506-7353. We also have a services email, but probably the easiest way to check in with somebody and get some assistance is to use the chat that's on our website. So when folks go to the Superior Court website and the Law Library Resource Center, they'll see a little question mark that'll pop up in the lower right-hand corner. That will take them to a live chat, so it is a real person. It might take a few minutes to connect, but they can help with folks in English and Spanish, and they can send you links to forms that you might need, help you with court navigation, and pretty much answer your questions about the court.
Okay, again, what is the website?
Sure, it's superiorcourt.maricopa.gov/LLRC for Law Library Resource Center.
Cool. Okay, and phone number?
602-506-7353.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us. Tell us about the Law Library Resource Center. I really hope the listeners check it out. It's an amazing, amazing place and resource and can save you a lot of time and money. So I wholly endorse it. So thank you again.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.